welcome back to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm Kay Williams, author of Opdeck Operation Deceit, the Trailokya Trilogy, and the Civil War drama Blue Honor. On today's episode, we're going to talk about those quotes that you'll see at the beginning of the Trailokya Trilogy. So let's get right into it. I'm just going to take out my copy here because it's easiest to do that. So there's a couple of quotes on the dedication page, and the first one is from Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. The second is Friedrich Nietzsche. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster, and when you look long into an abyss, the abyss also looks into you. So these two quotes kind of set up the type of story that you're going to encounter within the books. Nikola Tesla, as you know, brilliant engineer and inventor, and he was doing a lot with spirituality in about that time, you know, like the 1890s, turn of the century and stuff. That whole spiritualism thing was huge, and Tesla never really got out of that. That was something that he was continually involved with in exploring scientifically and trying to explain it as energy and frequency and all of that stuff. And it's pretty deep and pretty wild. That's one of the reasons that I use that in here, because not only does the Shadow Soul go into dark fantasy, exploring mythology, but it also kind of explores the idea of energy, frequency, and vibration, and all that spiritualism sort of stuff that may or may not be mythology. And it kind of explores that as, what if it were a reality? What if these beings that humanity has written about for eons were real? And how they were real is that they came from a neighboring universe of some kind. You see that in Marvel with Thor. Same exact thing. Thor is a god. He's just from a different plane of existence. That's why they need the key, Hamdel, and has to open up that gate and let him through, him and Loki, etc. And they've been through in there before, Odin especially. So Midgard and all of that stuff. It's not unusual. The other quote, Friedrich Nietzsche, that should be a familiar quote to people about when you fight things in life, when you face issues, etc., that you don't become so consumed by it that you start using those tactics. For instance, you know, political revolution and stuff of nonviolence sometimes can fall into using violence, and you get pushed. It's not always a choice that you're allowed to make. You get pushed into it. And that quote kind of speaks to one of the characters, Dominic, but also Maya, as she is attempting to help him evolve. It is suspected that she may be devolving, and therefore she's taking on these traits that would make her fall. And she's been fighting that battle for a very long time. So it sets up the story in that frame. So these battles and stuff by these otherworldly energies, and how frequency, etc., is a technology within Trailokya, etc. So the next quotes are in Book 2, Burning Down. And again, there are two. The first one, again, Tesla. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than all of the previous centuries of its existence. And the second is Stephen King. No one can tell what goes on in between the person you were and the person you become. No one can chart that blue and lonely section of hell. There are no maps of the change. You just come out of the other side, or you don't. Again, this is setting up the story that's in here. Thank you, King, Stephen King, for that great quote, because, you know, the hero's journey and stuff that's going on in here, it really speaks to that that neither she nor the reader know where this is going, and you're going to go through that map with her. And either she does or doesn't come out the other end. And you won't know that. You're not going to be sure of that, but it is a journey worth taking with her. We meet Mile again, and what it's talking about in Tesla's quote is that there are things that we don't know. And there are things that we label as, just, paranormal or mystical or this or that. And some people just dismiss it as, well, it's got to be something else, or you're just having a brain fart, or you have a psychosis. And that may not be the case. There may be actual things that are happening, because across the board, throughout all cultures of the world, there are these experiences, and they're extremely similar, and they have similar qualities to them. And yet no one seems to want to study them. They just want to dismiss it. And I find that interesting. Like, how would that devalue or debunk any of the science that we've learned so far? The science that we've learned so far pertains to our world, in the way that our planet functions, and the physics of our universe. So it shouldn't debunk any of that, and we shouldn't fear it. I can understand from the aspect of, if it disproved God or it proved God, why people might push back, because either side of that argument, I don't think they want to be disproven. That bothers them. They've really gone all in on that. There isn't any proof, honestly, to prove that there is an all-governing creator. I know that I have anecdotal experiences that convince me, but that doesn't convince my neighbor. And it shouldn't, because it's anecdotal. It hasn't been studied. So yeah, at this point there isn't. But Tesla is saying, if we studied it, if we really went in whole hog and studied and looked for it, we might advance. And part of that may be like key to finding like gates, like, like I just said, with Thor coming through from another universe, another plane, into the Earth plane, etc. What if we found that? What if we were able to use wormholes to travel? What if we found that, black holes were some kind of weird portal? I don't know how the heck we would ever survive that, but that would be interesting. And I did one time have a dream about that, going through a black hole and coming out the other side, and that's just a dream, but it did posit the question, what would be on that other side? Is there another side? Is it like a funnel to something else? Stuff is in there. It's sucking things in like a vacuum. So what's on that other side, if there is another side? So, and the third book, The Lucent Rise, also has quotes. Surprise. And Nikola Tesla, again, he's very important. Like, if you know about him and stuff and think about his research, etc., as I said before, that's why I keep quoting him, because it keeps leading back to that, so that's kind of a tie-in with the science fiction of the story. Let the future tell the truth and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future for which I have really worked is mine. At his lips' touch, she blossomed for him like a flower, and the incarnation was complete. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. So this is talking about how all truths will eventually come. It will all come out. And when we work towards that, that will be ours. But every individual has a truth, because we all have different perspectives and experiences, and we come to everything differently. Oh, that is my Snoopy clock, and it plays that Snoopy song, Linus and Lucy, on the hour, every hour. It's one of my happiest purchases of the year. It's actually not too loud, but it seems like it's really loud when I'm in other rooms. Yes, I'm a Snoopy fan. So, as I was saying, we have to evaluate each thing according to its work and what it does. Its function and what it does. Basically, its niche. Keep it in its niche and evaluate it in that manner. Same with people and what they're working with and stuff. So, Tesla was also talking about his research, and anyone that was kind of like devaluing his work or trying to debunk him. He knew that eventually the future would prove him right. Like he was right about electricity and alternating current. And Edison had to electrocute all sorts of animals, and he falsely created those experiments in order to just malign him, slander him. The other quote is F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. I love that quote because it makes me think when Maya evolves and realizes herself, and she does this on her own throughout the course of the story. There isn't anyone there rescuing her. Maya is rescuing herself. Her friends are there in support. And then there's that one friend who she realizes has been most important to her through it all, even though there was a great absence during their friendship. And she comes to that realization, and it opens up this whole other, I don't want to say world, but like whole other aspect of her reality, her future, and her accomplishments and everything, what her work means and what it is, and realizing that, she is solely responsible unto herself, for herself, and that everyone else is just kind of there to help usher that along, if they will, if they have agreed to do so. And she can't make anyone do that. She can't change things for others that they have chosen or what is meant for them. And it may seem, that it makes it less of a power for her, but it is very powerful to realize your autonomy is basically what's happening. She's also realizing what matters and who matters and what she's doing that matters, and comes back into herself and comes back into her work. So the future is showing her, after all of this, lift your chin. You have suffered greatly, but in that work you have made a great accomplishment, achieving the truth. And that map closes for Maya at that point. So it goes back to that Stephen King quote, her map, you're now on the other side with her. And all three books really are, an evolution for that character and stuff. And we start out with her. We don't start out with her as a young kid and go through all of her growth. We come in when she is an adult. She is married. She has children. And things are a little tumultuous. So all of that pre-development has already taken place. You get a little taste of that pre-development in the prologue of The Shadow Soul. But you don't spend all that time, developing with her. But know that she has a past, and her works and stuff, she's done great. But now this whole thing is exploding in her face, and attempting to balance that, because it's like, if I did such great work, why would it fall apart on me? Because some of the materials that the work was done with were faulty, were faults. So those truths have to come out, and Maya grows and walks that path, and hopefully you will walk that path with her and read about that. all three are out and available now. And I think it's a lot of fun to go exploring multiple universes, mythologies, and see how they all like interconnect with each other. And Shadow Soul apparently wants attention. So, in each of these doors on the cover come straight out of the dreams that I had that inspired the books. And there is a piece of artwork floating around out there that I showed the actual depiction of the scene in the dream, of how they're laid out and stuff. So each door means something. This is one that I haven't been through yet, and I just recently learned the meaning of. So that's cool. And I was very excited to finally nail down what it means, because that's super important. Super important. The other two I have been through. That's the number 2 and number 3. This was the one that I always went to when I was little. And then this is more recent. So, make sure you check out those books. They're available online. You can also order them at your bookstore. Thank you. See you back here next time. Don't forget to subscribe.